1 week into the pontificate of Pope Leo XIV, and already this series is necessary. I'm Jacob Stein with Crux, Stationalis, and I'm going to bring you a weekly series recapping the ins and outs, the words, gestures of this new pontificate of Pope Leo XIV, of everything that happens inside and outside the Vatican, which relates to the life of the Church. I was fooled. I was fooled before I moved to Rome. For the first years I was in Rome. I've been in Rome for 10 years. I've been blogging. Was able to jump into social media, into journalism. And for some time now, I've been wanting to provide a series which really just gives you raw, honest truth of what goes on. And sometimes I'll have to break through already this week the false narratives which get put forward for clickbait, for asking for money, for views. And that's not what this is going to be about. Series is going to provide with you what goes on. And we're going to faithfully be daughters and sons of the Church and in filial piety to the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV. Today, March 15th, marks the first full week of Pope Leo XIV's pontificate. From his inaugural blessing to his reflections on the Eastern churches, we'll cover the key moments that have already begun to define his papacy. He came out to the world on the Loggia after the Habemus Papam on May 8th, 2025. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost was elected the 267th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, taking the name Leo XIV. He was born in Chicago in 1955. He is the first American Pope and also holds Peruvian citizenship, having served as the Bishop of Chiclayo from 2015 to 2023. He appeared on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, and he greeted the world with the words, "Peace be with you." He emphasized a peace that is humble and rooted in God's unconditional love. I'll say this time and time again, the Church is the only voice in the world that has claim and that unabashedly speaks about the love of Christ for you, for me, for the whole world, which is unconditional. I'm moved every time that happens in the life, in the pontificates, in the words in the preaching, and we really should let that sink in. He also quoted St. Augustine. He said, "With you, I am a Christian. For you, I am a bishop." And St. Peter's Square, went up in a cheer for that as we were waiting for a new bishop of Rome. I was there in the square. I was by some Americans and some seminarians. I wasn't hooting and hollering because that's not my personality, but it was quite moving to be there for an Habemus Papam. And to have these words from St. Augustine highlighting his Augustinian identity. That was the first sort of thought I had. I said, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to hear how the spirituality of the Augustinian tradition is going to feed us spiritually throughout the course of this pontificate. And he concluded with us, with the world, over radio, over social media, by inviting everyone to pray a Hail Mary together, entrusting his Petrine ministry to the Blessed Virgin Mary. The next day, Friday, May 9th, he had his first homily as Bishop of Rome. He celebrated Mass with the College of Cardinals in the Sistine Chapel, and he reflected on Peter's confession, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." He cautioned against reducing Jesus to merely a moral teacher, urging the Church to proclaim Christ boldly, especially where faith is ignored or mocked. He also drew from Vatican II and early martyrs like St. Ignatius of Antioch, and he emphasized the need for church leaders to disappear. He said it for himself as well, to disappear so that Christ might be seen. And he concluded with a prayer for humble service under Mary's intercession, again, on the second day of his pontificate, going to the Blessed Mother. Then on Saturday, he made an address to the College of Cardinals. This was his first formal address to his brother cardinals, and Pope Leo XIV expressed gratitude for their support during the Sede Vacante, for the hard work that they offered in the governance of the church in that period and in the conclave. He praised Pope Francis for his complete dedication to service and sober simplicity of life, and called the papacy nothing more than being a humble servant of God and of his brothers and sisters. Emphasizing the church's need to listen to the Lord in the sound of sheer silence, Pope Leo XIV affirmed his commitment to the path set out by the Second Vatican Council, highlighting themes from Evangelii Gaudium such as missionary conversion and dialogue with the world. He also explained his choice of name as a tribute to Pope Leo XIII, intending to address modern challenges, especially those of artificial intelligence, through the wisdom of Catholic social teaching, first sort of set forth by Pope Leo XIII in the Industrial Revolution. And then on Good Shepherd Sunday, the Pope celebrated Mass in the Grottoes of St. Peter's Basilica, reflecting on Christ as the true shepherd and model for his papal ministry. He emphasized listening. That has been the sort of most profound aspect of these first days of Pope Leo XIV's pontificate. And I gave this icon to him on Monday of this week in the audience with journalists. I was able to be present. I was able to touch his hand and then give this gift to one of his Gentiluomo. And I'm starting a giveaway on my Instagram channel, Crux Stationalis, so that a follower of Crux Stationalis will be able to have the same icon that the Pope has. But this image of Our Lady, Mary Theotokos, the Mother of God, with her finger over her lips in silence, it was reflective to me of the Pope's first impressions to the world. I originally commissioned it for myself, but I knew I was going to meet him on Monday, so I was able to give it to him. So I'll have to commission another one for myself, because I also want one to be able to be connected to the Pope in this way. But again, on Sunday, the Good Shepherd Sunday, he emphasized listening to the Lord and listening to one another as the foundation of faithful service. Later, during the Regina Caeli prayer, he encouraged, which he chanted in Latin, though everyone was going crazy. I was at home listening to it, and I was jumping up and down, excited to just hear the Pope chant. During his address, he encouraged young people. First, he said, "Do not be afraid." And he said, "Listen to Christ's call without fear." And he made a heartfelt appeal also for peace amid global conflicts, calling for ceasefires in Ukraine and Gaza, and the release of prisoners and hostages. He also honored mothers worldwide on Mother's Day with a special blessing. Then, as I mentioned, he met with journalists on Monday, and it was his first formal address to the global media, to all of the journalists who had been covering the conclave, the Sede Vacante, and the first days of his pontificate. And he thanked us. He thanked us for being truthful, honest, and also, of course, in thanking us, that's an encouragement to push forward in those qualities and virtues. And he emphasized the role of media in shaping a culture of truth and peace, saying, "Blessed are the peacemakers." He urged reporters to reject aggressive or ideological narratives and rather promote responsible, humane communication, especially in this digital age. He also got onto Instagram this week. Within 24 hours, he had after 24 hours officially, he had 9.6 million followers on Instagram. He reached 1 million after 6 hours and 29 minutes. I was there scrolling to see when he hit 1 million. And it was 6 hours and 29 minutes from the official announcement of the Instagram account and reaching 1 million followers. Very kind of exciting moment to see that surge of interest, especially having this American Pope, having a sort of, the world is a bit shaken by this reality because it was something we didn't expect. But to the journalists, he also expressed solidarity with imprisoned journalists and praised those who risked their lives to report truthfully. He also addressed the potential and the risks of AI. Again, he spoke to the Cardinals about that, and he called for discernment in its use. He wanted us to remain, to uphold the human dignity in our work. Again, Leo, he chose the name Leo. But let me, this is one thing that needs to be broken down. He greeted all of the special guests from the media, like the head of the network that I work for, and others, and then he greeted all others as he walked down the aisle. First, it was quite strange to see a pope walking so easily, and second, I was able to touch his hand, and then I was able to give him this icon, and then on the other side of the aisle, there was a journalist or someone there in the audience who was carrying a rainbow flag. Now, people have been trying to get clicks, have been trying to get views, have been trying to say that somehow this Pope is, they're reading into the actions in a way that is just absolutely conjecture. First, this rainbow flag wasn't a pride flag. This rainbow flag was a peace flag. 7 colors of the rainbow, pace written on it, Italian for peace. And yet I'm listening, I find the videos on social media, and people are saying he saw it out of his peripheral vision, and he just kept on walking with his, as he turned to the other side. No. First off, he was being grabbed at, which I think is very unprofessional, and people are excited to meet the Pope, especially the journalists who've been working so hard, days and days and days and hours and hours and hours, and we just wanted a chance to touch his hand and to greet him. But there's a lot going on in that moment. So to have this fanciful thought that he saw it out of the corner of his eye, and that it would have caused confusion, and there's so much more clarity with this new Pope, which, okay, maybe we will have more clarity from Pope Leo XIV, more clear teachings, more clear words. We're not going to have to measure actions with the words. Maybe that will be the case. We'll see. I'll take you with me through this journey on Crux Stationalis of exploring what actually happens in the heart of the church. But to immediately, kind of in a moment when the Pope says, don't be ideological, don't be sensational journalists. I would say these sensational people aren't even journalists. They're just commentators walking down Via dell'Inauguration or standing next to the baldacchino of St. Peter's Basilica wanting to eventually ask for money for their work, which is what one person was doing. That's not what we do. That's not what we're going to do. So when we're experiencing things that are happening, just wait for this Thursday episode, and I'll be here to tell you the fullness of what's going on. You can leave comments. You can send me direct messages on the other social media apps and ask me the questions. When you have questions, I'll answer them here. But again, there's no confusion with what that flag was. There was no, and if people are confused, guess what? You need to work a little bit harder to figure out what the truth is. It's better to dig a bit deeper, to pray, to read, to figure out what's going on, as opposed to reading a headline and thinking, oh gosh, what are we getting into? Or, oh gosh, this guy is a stalwart against the LGBTQ, against these things. Which, guess what? So was Pope Francis. All you have to do is also go dive deeper into Pope Francis. Pope Francis called abortion murder. He spoke against the mafia. He said gender theology is destructive. And the list goes on and on. But who was willing to dig deep for that? Not many people. And so again, we're going to have questions. We're coming from all different cultures. So I'm hoping that I can be here as a resource for you with the experience that I have in Rome, with the work that I'm doing now in journalism and social media. Ask me the questions. Beautifully then, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, May 14th, the Pope met with Eastern Catholic churches in their Jubilee event. He began with the Paschal greeting, which is so common among the Eastern churches. Christos anesti, Christ is risen, he is truly risen. He affirmed the unique dignity of the Eastern churches and praised their spiritual traditions. He recalled Pope Leo XIII's Orientalium Dignitas and St. John Paul II's Orientale Lumen. And he acknowledged threats to Eastern Catholics in the diaspora, those who have had to leave their countries, leave their local churches because of issues in the world. And he announced plans also to establish new principles and norms to support the Eastern Catholic churches. He emphasized also that the Latin Church needs to learn from the East. It was very beautiful words. He highlighted practices like penance and fasting as necessary correctives to Western consumerism. And he concluded by urging the Eastern churches to be lights in the world through holiness and fidelity. Finally, we got a bit more information about the coat of arms of Pope Leo XIV. The blue field with a lily, this flower of flowers, this flos florum, symbolizing the Virgin Mary, and an ivory field with an Augustinian emblem, a flaming heart pierced by an arrow, referencing St. Augustine's words, "You have wounded my heart with your love." The Pope's motto on his stemma, on his coat of arms, is "In illo uno unum," in the one Christ we are one. It reflects the unity of the faithful in Christ, a theme which is central to his spirituality, central to his episcopal life, and now as Bishop of Rome, as the Supreme Pontiff. Let's see, what else happened in this world? Let's see that I'm not missing any notes for you. Saturday, after meeting with the Cardinals, he went to Genazzano with the beautiful shrine of Our Lady of Good Counsel, the Mother of Good Counsel. It's going to become the new Salus Populi Romani. Pope Francis, before every, on the first day, the second day of his pontificate, he went to Salus Populi Romani in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, and now the Pope, on the third day of his pontificate, went to Genazzano. It's about an hour away from Rome, kind of hard to get to. You need a car, or you need to take a long bus ride. It's a shrine that's taken care of by Augustinians, of which the Holy Father comes from that religious tradition. And he celebrated Mass there before, and so he wanted to visit this icon of Our Lady of Good Counsel, already showing us the ins and outs of who he is as a person, as a priest, as a bishop, as Pope. Then on the way back to Rome, he stopped at Santa Maria Maggiore to pray at the tomb of Pope Francis. And another note, upcoming this Sunday, we have the inauguration of the Petrine ministry of Pope Leo XIV. And last Sunday, as he was down in the Grottoes of St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope prayed in the Confessio. Again, we're going to be seeing a Pope who kneels down in prayer. Besides looking back, comparing, contrasting, whatever, this series, I hope, is going to help you just experience this pontificate, experience being a daughter, a son of the Church. We're still in the Jubilee year. we have the ability in the life of the church to gain a plenary indulgence every day. During the Jubilee year, we're able to obtain 2. One for the living, for yourself, and one for the dead, for the repose of the soul. Very exciting. Yesterday, I just picked up, I was in the first group of pilgrims who passed through the Holy Door on Christmas morning, in the 8 a.m. group. I woke up early, I got in this group, and yesterday I finally got this testimonium which attested to me walking through the Holy Door of St. Peter's Basilica. If you're in Rome, you go to Via della Conciliazione 7, number 7. If you're coming to Rome for the Jubilee, when you go through the Holy Door, then you can go to this office and get this testimonium, a nice memento of this spiritual act, indulgence act. And I encourage you, pray for the Holy Father every day. In Our Father, a Hail Mary, and a Glory be for the intentions of Pope Leo XIV. Thank you for following Crux Stationalis. Thank you for listening. I hope this series is going to help you, and I hope you tune in every week. Share it with your family and friends. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Let me know what questions you have, criticisms. This is a new format for me. So I'm going to be learning with you, and I'm going to be taking you with me through the days, day in and day out of Rome, of the heart of the Catholic Church. So God bless you, and until next week, this has been Crux Stationalis, Jacob Stein. I'll see you soon.